My name is Kingsley Undo. I'm the founder and CEO of Hurone AI. Our company is based here in Seattle, Washington, and we're a startup company that is focused on improving cancer care in Latin America and Africa. We do this by empowering oncologists with artificial intelligence solutions to make evidence-based decisions in delivering care to patients and to empower them to have remote care delivered to patients. And with our solutions, patients are able to communicate with their clinicians, address their side effects, and basically have a companion during their treatment journeys that is often difficult. I'm really honored to be here today to deliver this keynote speech, but I'm really sad that I can't be there with you guys today. Just a few hours on boarding my flight and going to the airport, I had a family emergency that really needed my attention, and that's why I'm unavoidably absent. But I'm really grateful for the technologies that we have today, that even though I'm speaking to you from Seattle, Washington, you can hear me and you can see me, and I look forward to an interactive session after this and the Q&A. So my talk today is titled The Power of AI in Health and how we can use artificial intelligence to really drive access around the world and to achieve health equity. And the first thing I want to point out to you guys is our vision, because I think our vision for our startup company pretty much aligns with this topic. And our vision is to make AI precision cancer care available to everyone, everywhere. And in health, you can actually substitute the precision cancer care to precision health. And that is really what AI can do for us today. But we all understand that we have regulations we have to go by evidence, and we have to make sure that whatever AI products we're bringing to the market is proven to be effective, safe for the patient. Today, I want to start with the story of my beloved aunt. Many years ago in Nigeria, she was unfortunately diagnosed with colorectal cancer. My aunt had previously gone to the hospital when she noticed symptoms, but she was misdiagnosed. And she was being treated for something that was unrelated to colorectal cancer until she had an advanced stage cancer. Unfortunately, she passed on. But all those gaps I saw really motivated me and inspired me to choose my career path in medicine and global health, and eventually global oncology, which has segued into starting a company. But there's so many lessons that my aunt reminds me and keeps teaching me today, even though she has long passed on. And that is the lens that I'll use to deliver this keynote speech. And also that's the lens and that's the driver for our company, to make sure that healthcare is equitable for everyone, everywhere, and we have a powerful technology today to do so. I really love this illustration, a lot of you may have seen it, about equity and equality. And when it comes to healthcare, it's not about making healthcare the same as it is in Switzerland to what it is in Brazil. It's about meeting people where they are. It's not about having US healthcare system or doing everything we do here in the US, in Nigeria or in Kenya. But it's about looking at the resources that people have, that healthcare systems have, and making sure that these resources work for the people. And as these resources evolve, we can evolve with how we deliver healthcare. And that's really what equity is about. You know, it's not everyone that has a smartphone. But at Hurone AI, we innovated around SMS, WhatsApp, so that even patients that do not have smartphones are able to interact with our application and get the value out of it. That is equity. We didn't give them smartphones, but we innovated around what they had. And with AI technologies, we can even amplify this further in how we deliver these technologies to people and meet them where they are. This illustration basically shows a patient's journey, and you can throw in any disease there. You know, when a patient comes into a healthcare system, they need to be diagnosed. Now, diagnosis, there's a lot we can do with artificial intelligence, and I know that we've talked about some of these technologies yesterday. But when you think about the fact that some patients might have lab values, they might have a pathology report, they might have done X-rays or MRIs or CT scans, and you have only one oncologist in a county, say in Kenya. Think about how computer vision, for example, can really augment the work of this oncologist and ensures that he or she is able to make as many diagnoses and reports without burning out. And more importantly, we can reduce medical errors. And we know that medical errors is a problem everywhere in the world. It just depends on the degree. Think about treatment. A lot of oncologists or pathologists or dermatologists might want to make clinical decisions. How about having a tool that augments, with evidence, these decisions that they make? Reduce burnout, reduce errors. That is equity. That's how we can deliver equity to patients and precision care to patients. And the list goes on and on, from logistics to billing. Patients have to navigate the complexities of billing, especially if you live in the United States. In Europe, it might not be a big problem, but in the United States, there's all complexities that is associated with insurance. In places like Africa and Latin America, still a big problem. There's out-of-pocket payments. How can we use artificial intelligence to support patients in making these decisions? Side effects management, that's what we do really well at Hurone AI. Patients are able to report their side effects from prompts on their cell phones. They can receive it in their language. They don't need to speak English. And we have an analytics dashboard where clinicians can make complex decisions, but our analytics make it so easy and simple for them to make quick decisions for patients. So in this whole range of pain points for patients, there are several ways that AI can make a huge difference and make health equity a tangible reality in our time. Now this is a landscape. This is by no means exhaustive, but this is a landscape of AI usage. And there are several ways we can use AI. I just talked about computer vision. There are several companies that are working on this. You just need, for example, in pathology, you just need the picture, the slide, digitized, and an AI algorithm can point to where the problem is, and that pathologist can focus there and make a diagnosis. Automated reports. Think about pathologists reporting having 50 reports a day if it's just one oncologist in the whole center. Imagine a machine doing that is trained to do that. And we all know that the driver of all this is data. Data is the huge driver, and we need to make this diverse. We also have to consider things like cultural context and clinical context, and I'll go to that as we progress in this talk. But these are a few things that we can make a huge difference for both patients, clinicians, and the healthcare administrators. At Hurone AI, the major problem we're solving is the global oncologist workforce shortage. And this is not just in oncology, but it's also in healthcare in general. We saw that really rear its ugly head in the pandemic. In the United States, we have one oncologist to 300 cancer patients. Now, compare that to Africa and Latin America, 1 to 3,000 in Africa and 1 to 1,000 in Latin America. So think about the cancer patients that were just diagnosed and how they do not have access to their oncologists or even oncology nurses when they are supposed to be supported throughout their treatments. You also see this with doctors getting burnout. They're being called when they're having dinner with their families. And so what we did at Hurone AI is just streamline that communication. Patients can report their side effects through prompts and through their natural language. We extract this data using AI, We show doctors and nurses analytics. They click a button. We have innovated, or we have adapted large language models built on foundational models with Amazon Bedrock, and we've iterated it for clinical use cases. So doctors can automatically make clinical decisions or send messages to patients or even call patients. We've incorporated things like clinical summaries and just made life so easy. We can auto-detect emergencies when patients have them, and so patients can immediately know that this is an emergency and they call a number. And we've done all these things using technology. Patients mustn't have a smartphone. They can get this through text message, and they can get this in their own languages. So we first piloted our technology in Rwanda at the Rwandan Cancer Center in Kigali. Rwanda is a small country; it's 1/5 the size of Washington State in East Africa. And Rwanda is 13 million people in population and only less than 12 oncologists in the whole country. So this was a good place to pilot. We wanted to see how patients used it, clinicians used it. I wanted to get some key metrics like modeling how much patients saved by using our technology and how it augmented clinicians and validates the outputs of our system. And our system is called, platform is called Gukiza. Gukiza is a Kenya-Rwanda word, which is one of the languages, a major language spoken in Rwanda, meaning healing. And so what we found was that we had 92% engagement, meaning that patients were always engaging and answering all the prompts. They were entering things that were wrong with them, and they all consented to using their data before we did this in a very private way and using the most advanced cybersecurity technologies that is embedded with AWS Cloud. And doctors were able to deliver care. Our system caught like 9 emergencies that patients got alerted by automatically. We were able to reduce 75% of off-duty calls for clinicians, and this was really a glimpse to how this can the impact we had in Rwanda can really be scaled. And right now we are setting up very large pilots that's going to be funded by a mix of funding, government and pharma in different parts of the world. So we're setting one in Kenya. We're collaborating with the Nigerian Institute of Cancer Research and Treatment in Nigeria, and we're also engaging with Brazil. And we want to get these key metrics in a larger scale, and so we can make the case for investments. Just imagine if showing that our system saved patients thousands and thousands of dollars, it saved healthcare systems thousands of dollars, prevented hospitalizations, and over time will save an insurance payer a lot of money based on the hospitalizations that we were able to reduce, and based on just the long travels that patients would do and the inefficiencies in the system. So we're getting qualitative and quantitative data and health economics data to ensure that we can have the long-term investments from payers to sustain and scale this. And this, beyond the quantitative data, these are what patients said about our platform. So this patient, said that Hurone AI's platform saved her from traveling to the hospital, which was several miles. This particular patient lived about 2 hours away from the cancer center, and the Dr. Diane Ndoli, who is one of the only 2 female oncologists in the country, said that by using Hurone AI's platform, it significantly reduced off-duty calls for her. And that is really what we want to replicate. We want patients that are living in a faraway village to be able to receive care, get monitored, and get real-time analytics based on data they input, based on their demographic data, and really make sense of that data. We also want to work with pharma companies, especially when it comes to adverse events reporting, or even helping recruit for clinical trials and make the trials more diverse, because we're building LLMs into our system to be able to do all this trial selection in clinical trial ready sites. Now think about what that can do to the pharma industry, especially when you want to diversify trial pools of patient participants, or when you consider that in the last 20 years, all the FDA-approved drugs for cancer, only less than 3% and less than 2% of the trial participants were of African and Hispanic descent. Now think about what diversity can do, especially with these sort of international collaborations. And like I said, we're already expanding this pilots, building different models to see cost-effective analysis and to really make the investment case. This is me and with the governor of Kisumu in Kenya. That's the picture in the middle, in the top middle, where we signed an agreement and we're going to be implementing Hurone's platform in Kisumu. Is the third largest state in Kenya. That's on the picture on the top right. I went with my team members. This was the US Africa Cancer Investment Forum, and that was with the president of Tanzania. And we're also looking at partnerships in Brazil, and we really want to make this a mainstay and to see how we can reduce healthcare costs in general and ensure that we make the system of communication between physician and patient more seamless, augment clinical decision making, and democratize access. Now, we wouldn't have gotten to this where we are without the support of Amazon and the collaboration and partnership that Amazon Web Services have provided. We're one of the inaugural winners of the Amazon Web Services Health Equity Initiative. And through this initiative, we've been able to leverage on Amazon's cloud tools and some of their latest technologies through cloud credits and technical support. We were one of the companies that experimented with Amazon Bedrock for a clinical use case, and that's the technology we've iterated now for a lot of our large language models on our platform. And this is the CEO of AWS, Adam Selipsky, just talking about Hurone AI and how Hurone AI can be an example in using AI to make health equity a tangible reality in our time. And last year, I had the privilege of speaking to over 120 foreign ministers at the United Nations General Assembly with the Vice President of AI at Amazon Web Services, Dr. Swami Siva Subramanian. And we talked about and shared our vision how AI can really make an impact in the world of healthcare. And I believe that every one of you sitting here are all thinking about your innovations, collaborations, and even though I'm not there present with you, I'm really looking forward to connecting. At the end of this presentation, my connection, LinkedIn will be there. There will be a QR code you can scan directly on your screen to connect. And it's through collaboration that we can really make this happen and make this a reality. And just to shift away from the Hurone AI case study, I want to show some examples of the inequities that we see. So for example, this illustration shows the United States where Black women are much more likely to die from breast cancer. Why is that? How can we crunch the data? And how can we use AI to make this more equitable? This is another illustration that shows a decision-making algorithm. As you know how artificial intelligence works, you have to build models, you have to build algorithms. And this algorithm is a young man, a 20-something-year-old man, presents with intermittent fever, some night sweats, and some weight loss, and they present in the United States, in a hospital in Seattle, or in a hospital in Geneva or Basel. And the first thing the doctor is going to be thinking about is Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. But if this patient is in a place like Nigeria or Kenya, the first thing the doctor is going to think about in that decision-making algorithm is malaria. So think about designing a model in the United States or in Basel and taking it to Kenya. It's not going to work as well because the epidemiology, the local epidemiology is different. So we have to design technology around clinical context, around cultural context, to make it equitable to patients and to make it more responsive so that we can reduce bias. This is another picture I really love to show. It's a picture of a cancer called Kaposi sarcoma. I know it sounds like a highfalutin term, but what it just means is a cancer of the skin that is usually seen in immunocompromised individuals, like people that have HIV or people that are on immunosuppressants because they had a recent organ transplant, like kidney transplant. And you can see that this lesion is very distinct in light-skinned individuals, where you see like a purplish reddish lesion, but in darker skinned individuals, it's just going to be dark. And so think about training an AI model to identify this cancer, and you use mostly Caucasian data. It's not going to be responsive in places like Africa or some places in Latin America. So we have to make training data diverse, and there are several ways we can make it through equitable, fair data sharing agreements that complies with regulations, local regulations and laws. We have to think about international collaborations. And we really have to make data more diverse because every error we make can cost someone's life. Every diagnostic error can trade us in the path where a patient is getting something else instead of getting the right treatment. And as we know, that's not precision care. That's what we can change with technology. And to put a human face to this, I want to end by talking about Chadwick Boseman. We all know Chadwick Boseman, the famous actor that unfortunately passed on from colorectal cancer. Chadwick was 39 years old when he was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. At the time, the median age of diagnosis, or even right now, the median age of diagnosis for colorectal cancer in the US is 68 years. And the recommendation at the time when he was diagnosed was to have a colonoscopy screening at 50. So Chadwick never lived up to 50 to have his first colonoscopy as a preventive measure. Unfortunately, he died at 44. But in Nigeria, there was a study that showed that the median age for diagnosis for colorectal cancer is 50. Now, should we all use the screening guidelines for 50 for everybody? There are racial differences, there are genetic differences. We can make this more precise. Because the thinking that went into screening guidelines, besides the economic, cost-effective analysis in saving life, you also look at the fact that it takes 10 years to have colorectal cancer from a polyp that can be seen from colonoscopy. And if the median age of diagnosis for certain racial groups is lower, and you can look at different data that can really give you precise screening, why don't you do it? And this is a challenge I have for everyone today. How can we get precise or precision preventive medicine with artificial intelligence and big data? And I like to show the bell curve. A lot of you that remember your statistics, or some of you are data scientists, you remember this curve. It's a curve of how we get population norms. The bell is where most of the population lies in any value you're thinking of to define the normal. But we have two tapered ends that makes up around 2.5% of the population. Now, if you think about the United States where I live, we're like 340 million people. And so if you exclude 5% of the population based on the Bell's curve, we're talking about close to over 20 million people. And when I checked, the last I checked, there are at least 150 countries that have a population of 20 million or more. So we can't leave the tapered ends of the population behind. We must deal with data, and we must ensure that we treat everyone equitably, even though the Bell's curve is excellent in what we do today. But with AI and big data, we can make it better and more precise. And there are several ways we can address health equity, and I've mentioned them, and this is just a list. We talked about cultural sensitive, building with the user in mind, ensuring that we can be equitable in building our applications and collaboratively designing these technologies, not just with engineers, but with health ethicists, with psychologists, with everyone that would really make us design a product that deals front and center with the patient. And finally, one of the big topics, and we also the UK AI Safety Summit last year, is data privacy and safety and data sovereignty. We must figure out how to work with regulatory agencies to ensure that patients are safe, but at the same time, we shouldn't strangulate and stifle innovation with regulation. We must ensure that we are balanced and patients are safe, their data is secured, and we can keep innovation running. Because with innovation and with technology and with AI and all these technologies I mentioned, that is a tool that we can use to accelerate health equity. It's not the only answer. There are several things we have to do around workforce, around equipment, research, but this technology can really drive and accelerate health equity in our time. Thank you so much. This is our team of people who do this work every day. We're a lean startup. We have an excellent team that is not just driven by the talents that they bring and the skills, but by personal stories that they've had with cancer and with the inequities that happens today. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the Q&A and interacting with all of you. Thank you. Really an honor to be here.